Hi, I'm Seth. Welcome to my practice. Practice. Yeah, we're talking about practice. Where's the button? Welcome to the good world.
1, 2, 3.
So come on in to a place that is fun. I'll be your friend and you can be mine. The world is a stream of constant bullshit, but that doesn't mean there's not a whole lot of good shit. You start with the mean and we can make something different. Let's build a world that is good.
This is a show for adults. Hi, friend. Welcome to the good world. I am just going to say up front, if you're watching on video, I thought wearing this unicorn onesie was a good idea for whimsy, and I'm now very hot. I set the thermostat in the shed to 62 degrees because that's how hot I am, but I apologize if I can be a very sweaty person. We'll just go off on this tangent here for a moment. So Susie and I, we moved to California about 4 years ago now, little more. But before that, we lived in Washington, D.C., which is a lovely city and which gets very hot and humid in the summer. Sacramento gets very hot, not humid. But I am a very sweaty person, and what I loved about the summer in D.C. is it was the only time that I could go anywhere and people wouldn't look at me funny for how sweaty I am, because everyone was sweaty. I will also tell you about another time when I was in grad school. I used to ride my bike to class, and one day one of my professors overheard me talking about this with a classmate, and he said, "Seth, did you say that you ride your bike to class every day?" That's how he sounded. Those of you who know Jack Citrin. He said, do you ride your bike to class every day? And I said, "Yes, Jack. Did you not notice how sweaty I am when I always come into class?" And he said, "I did. I just didn't know why." So I'm a very sweaty person. And so I'm going to sweat here, but that's okay. We're trying new things out. So I wanted to talk about practice today because there is a significant extent to which, for me, this right here is a practice. This is the beginnings of, I don't even know. I don't know exactly where this is going to go and what I have learned from avoiding making these videos for a long time, which I've talked about 2 episodes ago on Tuesday. What I have learned is that not making things is not going to get me anywhere. Making things, maybe I'll figure out exactly what it is that I'm trying to do. So there's an extent to which this is just practice. I'm really just building a skill here. And practice is something that I think is actually a very important and fundamental part of our lives. And it's something that I didn't really understand until, I would say, my late 30s, when I first sort of, I guess I would say when I learned to meditate. Every time I had tried meditating before coming to what is now sort of my standard meditation practice, which, side note, I will also say, when I talk about meditation on here, like I do it very diligently all the time, every day, my practice is very inconsistent. This week, I have managed to, I sit for 5 minutes. I do 5 minutes of sitting meditation before I record. But every morning that I would love to do every morning, I've done like twice in the last week, and that is an improvement over the last couple of months. I had this idea when I had my surgery to remove my tumor over the summer, which you can also hear me talking about in a recent episode. I had this idea that during my recovery, I would meditate a lot, and I would really sort of come to terms with the way that my body had been briefly trying to kill me. And instead of doing that, I watched a lot of TV and played a lot of computer games. And so that was, practice is sometimes we fail. But so the form of meditation that I practice, I'll just sort of give a quick preface on that. Because I've met a lot of people I talk to about this are like, I just feel like I don't know how to meditate. And I felt that way for a long time until I found something that worked for me. I find that the guided meditations don't work for me at all when they're like, picture yourself sitting by a river and how many clouds are in the sky. Like, it's very peaceful, But as someone who spaces out a lot, when I try to do that, I space out and then I come back and I'm like, wait, where are we now? And it's like they're talking about, oh, and are there fish under the waterfall? And I'm like, when was there a waterfall? I totally missed there being a waterfall. And then I get very frustrated by not knowing about the waterfall, and that defeats the purpose of the meditation. So the practice that I actually semi-consistently do is, it's in the Plum Village tradition, which is the tradition founded by the Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, pictured here. Yeah, you can kind of see that. I just keep a little picture of him on my desk because I find him very inspirational. But the practice is really just sitting in silence, which, as I mentioned, I think yesterday, I really hated for a long time because I was like, I don't like being alone with my thoughts. And what I have learned is you sit in silence, but you really just try to listen to your breath. And that's it, because your breath is going to be there, right? You don't need to consciously choose to breathe. And you're not going to miss something if you space out for even a minute's worth of breath. You're not going to come back and be like, oh, my breath is in a different place. How did that happen? Even if you're breathing at a different sort of tempo, it's you understand, I think, intuitively how that just is a thing that happens. But the practice part of it isn't what I have learned. You're not practicing staying with your breath so much as you are practicing coming back to your breath. Because what you're going to do when you sit in silence, even Buddhist monks who have been doing this every day for a very, very long time, their minds wander too. So my mind, with less practice, is certainly going to wander. And what the actual practice is noticing when your mind wanders. It's not keeping your mind from wandering, because you can't do that. It's just, you're sitting there and you're with your breath and you're with your breath. And then suddenly, what am I going to make for dinner? Oh, I saw a good recipe yesterday. Maybe it was a baked feta recipe and I like cheese. And so maybe I noticed my mind has gone somewhere else. I'm on an in-breath, I'm on an out-breath. And that's all it is. And the practice is that noticing, and you get better at it over time. And a part of the practice is trying to do that with gentleness and with sort of compassion for yourself, right? It's not very helpful if what you're doing is thinking, oh, now I'm thinking about this feta recipe and I really like cheese and blah, blah, blah. Oh no, my mind wandered. I'm so angry at myself. Ugh, I can't believe I did that. I'm so bad at meditation. Like that is a natural reaction. I'm like, you can't control those reactions, but the practice is the sooner you can get to a point of, oh, it's okay. That's what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is letting my mind wander because it's going to, and then just noticing it. And you can just get to a point where you just bring it back. What I have started to do, actually I started this a while ago, but when I notice my mind wandering, I just smile because it means it's working, right? Noticing is it's working. And so in my brain, what also happens when I smile, your brain does this weird thing where even if you're smiling for no reason, you're just artificially like, hey, smile. And you go, here's my smile. Like, even if you do that, your brain is like, oh, happy. That connects to happy feelings. And you feel slightly happier, which is a strange thing, but it is a positive reinforcement. And so that means if you're meditating and you smile when you notice your mind wandering and you just come back to your breath while you're smiling, then you're going to start to feel happier every time you notice your mind wandering. And that's great. That's good practice. That's sort of what practice is all about. And I will also share, the part where you're sort of, where I mentioned you're beating yourself up, right? Like, oh, I can't believe I let my mind go. A thought that I had sort of to myself recently, I was sort of standing in the mirror. I'll tell you this, that sound means we're going to have to take a break in a minute, but I'll tell you this first. I was standing in the mirror and I was just like, I was frustrated about something. I think it was like I didn't do my homework that day and I had intended to do my homework. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I didn't do my homework for school. I'm so pissed at myself. I'm such an idiot. And then I sort of caught myself that I was doing that. And I was like, I'm so hard on myself. I need to stop being hard on myself. Why am I so hard on myself? I'm such an asshole that I'm so hard on myself. And then I stopped and I realized that was not helping. And then I laughed. And then I was able to get a little better about it. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe.
Yes, that is a reminder to you that if you are enjoying this content, please hit a like button or a subscribe button wherever you're. It's not yet on. Well, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, then it means I've figured out how to get it on a podcast app. I think I think I know how to do that, but I haven't done it yet. But anyway, click like, click subscribe, share it with your friends. Go to goodworld.love. It's just a link tree, but it will show you where all my content is. There's a merch store. You can get fun little hats that say, let's build a world that is good. And they're tie-dye. I really like these hats, to be honest. Please just help support me. You can go to my Patreon and give me money, which will make this at least feel like it could be sustainable. That would be nice. So back to this idea of practice. So I sort of came to my current meditation practice around 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere in there. And this idea of practice, you're just practicing doing this thing of noticing when your mind wanders. And that in turn enables you to be more present. And I had never really thought about the fact that when people talk about things like this, they use the word practice. I'd never really thought about what practice sort of means. Like conceptually, in my mind, practice was like the Allen Iverson thing that I mentioned at the top of this episode, right? We're talking about practice. Like in my mind, practice is like the annoying thing you do before you put whatever it is you're doing into play. I did not play as much basketball. I played baseball a bunch growing up though. And so like when I was on my school baseball team, we would have practice every day. And it's like kind of annoying because you just want to go play a game. And that's all I thought that practice was. And what I have come to sort of reframe it as is anything you're doing, practice just means it's just repetition, right? And it's repetition with an intention. It's repetition with the intent to get better at something. And so anything we're doing, we can sort of go about it with the intent to repeat that skill so that we get better at that skill. About a year ago, I started crocheting because I was just sort of looking for something to do with all the anxious energy I had after I got diagnosed with cancer. Also, if you're new here, I'm fine. I had surgery over the summer. I'm better now. But I had this diagnosis, and so I ordered a crochet kit from a company called the Woobles. They are not paying me to say this, but I learned to crochet from them, and that was cool. And then I also got some Annie's Kit Club, something like that, to make a blanket. And that, they send you one kit a month, and sort of each month it's like more of the blanket that you build. And they do it for 10 months. And I will tell you that I signed up for that monthly kit and I was like, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to make a blanket. I'm going to crochet so much. And then I put it away. And then every month another one would come and just go on the pile. And I started referring to these crochet kits as my crochet-shame, because every time a new one came, I was like, oh, I feel a little ashamed that I spent money on this and I'm not doing anything with it. But when I was recovering from surgery, I started my Annie's Club kits. I've done, I think, 2 of the kits. So I have sort of this much of a blanket right now. And I've been taking a break from that to work on some other projects, but I'm going to return to it pretty soon. But crochet is a skill that I had never done it. When I was in elementary school, we had a knitting unit one time around Christmas. So I knitted for like a week when I was in 4th grade. But I've never crocheted until last year, and now I'm like pretty good at it. I can make some stuff. I know I can look at a pattern, and I know what most of the stitches are. And I say that just as an example of anything you're trying to do. The practice is the doing of it, right? And so for me right now, this thing that I'm doing is the practice of talking to you, talking to the camera, talking to an audience, talking to people, and just sharing my experience, my truth, my experience, and I guess I'll say also my opinions. I'm a little hesitant to say my wisdom, because all of the things that I would share as wisdom are not like original ideas to me. Like, even if I think of them independently, it then turns out that like, oh, here's a passage in the gospel that like reflects the same idea of what I was thinking, or in the Quran, or wherever, or the Tao. The Tao Te Ching is really good. As a side note, we'll cover that in a future episode. But so this is a practice, and it brings together some different practices for me. One of them is staying present, and it's much easier for me to stay present when I am sort of on and performing. But it's also, I would say that part of my practice is ridiculousness, which is why I'm wearing this unicorn onesie. Most days, this is my bathrobe that I put on in the morning, unless it's too hot, which it is in Sacramento in the summer. But when I meditate in the mornings, usually I'm wearing this, because I think joy is a very important part of life. And so even if it feels a little ridiculous to be a 42-year-old man in a unicorn onesie, ridiculousness is okay. That's an important part of embracing the joy of life. I will share that I had a concept at some point for like, it was maybe going to be its own podcast, maybe it's just an episode, but it was going to be called Genocide and Farts, because the idea is that the human experience means there is genocide going on. There are a number of genocides going on in the world. At any time in human history, you can sort of put a marker down and be like, hey, there's a genocide going on. Like, that's a part of the human experience, and that's terrible. And really painful and important to sort of face head on. But it is also the case that we're farting, and farts are ridiculous. And so the human experience is holding those extremes of horrible, horrible cruelty and violence and just the absolute nightmare situation that some people are forced to live in. And at the same time, our bodies making smelly little toots. Literally at the same time, we have to hold both of those things to be human. And so for me, part of my practice is working on holding all of that at once, not sort of trying to block out the genocide, not trying to block out the farts or just the ridiculousness of the human body. I mean, my body grew a tumor recently, right? It was just like some cells went, let's grow this way. We're just gonna we're gonna grow over here now. And like, that's not what cells are supposed to do, but bodies are weird and silly. And that's part of life. But simultaneously, that weird, blobby, gross tumor thing that was growing inside me, left unchecked, could have killed me. So that's also that same, like, have to hold all of this at once. It's a lot to hold. I have this sort of working theory that the sort of main dimensions of the human existence are joy / ridiculousness, wonder, and grief. So there's like a haha funny dimension, there's a oh wow dimension, and then there's a really sad and like painful dimension. And all of those things are going on for all of us all the time. At some point, I mentioned that to my dad, and he said, well, what about love? And I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, I think love is all three. Like, I think when you're in love with someone, you find them hilarious, you are amazed at them, and you're also sort of grieving the reality that it's not going to be permanent, right? I talked about impermanence the other day. You're just grieving that too. So there are all these things. And so this here is my practice of just holding my own humanity, in a way that I hope is helpful for other people to see, because we, in our society and in our culture, we are not given a lot of opportunity to hold our humanity, and we're often made to feel like it's a bad thing and like it's something that needs to be suppressed. Bell Hooks has a great book called The Will to Change that I read, I think 2 years ago. It's been a little while. And it's basically all about masculinity in the dominant culture. And she says the first thing that men are taught to do is to kill the part of ourselves that cares. And like, damn, that's true. That hit hard. And so I think one of the most revolutionary things that we can do as men is care about ourselves, but also care about other people around us, care about nature and how incredible that is, care about people we don't even know. Caring is a revolutionary act. I think it's true in general. I think, my experience as a cishet white dude in America, like, caring is a very revolutionary act in a culture that tells us that caring is weakness, and that makes us think that posturing and putting on a tough facade is strength, when that facade is so thin and fragile. And so practice for me is just practicing caring about everything, about myself, about you. Many of you out there I have never met. I got, comments this week from 2 people who I don't know who they are. And they were very nice, which was unexpected for the internet. But I really appreciated that, and I care about them. And frankly, even if someone posted a comment that called me an asshole, I still care about that person, because I know they're coming from a place of hurt and woundedness too, right? They've been made to feel like they're not allowed to care. And so they probably get pissed at me when they see me showing how much I care, how much I try to practice caring. I'll say that to bring it around. Anyway, that little bell sound that went a moment ago means that we're done for today. And that also means we're done for this week. But I will see you next week. And in the meantime, well, thank you, friend, for your visit today. Now it's time we both go on our way. The world will still be insane tomorrow, but don't let that fill your heart with sorrow. You can thrive in a desert, just ask a saguaro. Please give to my Patreon. Capitalism is fun. Let's build a world that is good. This is a show for adults. Bye, friends. Thank you.